Our last presenter of the session is Tom Revy, Managing Director of BlackEarth Minerals.
Firstly, thanks very much to Bill Rapard and the team at Paydirt for another excellent conference, and to all those who've organised today's event. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. The story today is about BlackEarth, a company that was listed only in 2018. Our vision at that stage was very clear. It was to become a material player in the graphite supply chain in a global sense, and we've stuck by that. Today we have clear line of sight towards cash flow with the 2 projects. We're ESG certified now by Digby out of the UK, and Phil Hoskins touched on what that meant earlier. And effectively, amongst other things, it means that the Minari project will be developed according to the Equator principles in design and moving forward into construction and operation. It has attractive financial returns, and that goes to that was delineated in December when we put out an announcement in respect to the Minari Graphite updated financials with an NPV of US $230 million, which is roughly about 10 times our current market capitalisation. That's currently undergoing a DFS, a bankable feasibility study, which will be concluded in the middle of this year, and then we'll move on with an aim of getting into production late next year. Our second project is a smaller one, but extraordinarily important to the company and its vision, and that's to build an expandable graphite plant. And we're doing that in joint venture with a company called Medichem out of India, who have over 25 years' experience in producing quality expandable graphite and selling it around the world. Both of those lead to the fact that we're near-term cash flow. In fact, the expandable graphite project will be producing profit by the end of this calendar year. The products from the Minari project, we've tested over and again and made sure that we know the market and what we can present to the market. Our finds, the samples we provided to both independent laboratories and Tier 1 end users indicate that our samples have qualified as suitable for batteries. The mid-size material, similarly, suitable for the high end of refractories. And by that I mean materials that require, or crucibles, for example, that require high temperatures and highly corrosive environments. Our material is suitable for that, so it's high demand. And lastly, but certainly not least, is the coarse material, which has been tested by independent laboratories and Tier 1 end users, and samples have been qualified in regards to the expandables market. And in regards to our joint venture plant in India, we already have 100% offtake in place with an Austrian company very keen to get their hands on our product by the end of this year. The market conditions, and others have commented on this with showing various graphs, etc. But suffice to say, we're now getting more attention from end users because of the shortfall and the deficit that's predicted to occur starting at the end of this calendar year. Now that puts a huge chasm between, I think, the investing community and the end users, but we believe that chasm will close towards the end of the year as the reality of lack of supply bites. Corporate snapshot, basically we have a well-credentialed group of people heading in the company. They cover project development, technical and commercial aspects associated with graphite development and operations. We also have extensive project finance experience and, of course, equity markets understanding. As I said, our market cap is a low 35 million. As at the end of January, we announced we had just over 9 million in cash, providing us with a low enterprise value of just under $26 million. ESG is often spoken about, and people have different views on it, and that some people think it's this fluffy thing that hangs on the side of a company. At BlackEarth, the senior team is committed to full ESG, and really it's been there all the time. If you add technical component to that on top of the environmental, social and governance issues, it's what any good board should be looking at in respect to risk management practices in the company. ESG we had our ESG assessment by Digby's. It was a very detailed exercise, and we were very pleased with the final results of that, which we published a couple of weeks ago. This is the Minari project in a nutshell. It's located in southern Madagascar, undulating savanna ground for the purposes of picturing what the landscape looks like. We're only starting a plant at 500,000 tonne per annum, so it's very easily modularised and sent to site. The life of mine strip ratio is very low as well, in terms of 0.9 to 1. And the first 3 or 4 years are going to be 0.3 to 1, which means we don't need large pieces of equipment to move the small amounts of dirt. However, in terms of concentrate production, stage 1, which goes for the first 3 to 4 years, is going to be at a level of about 30,000 tonne per annum plus, which makes us a material producer of graphite, which of course is in line with our vision. The product you see, and I won't go through necessarily line by line, but we'll produce various products. It's roughly a third fine to small flake, around about half coarse flake, and there's a mid-sized material in between. That fine flake, as I said, has been tested for suitability in lithium-ion batteries, and as a result of a 12-month program at Dorfner Anzaplan, but also by results we received by Tier 1 end users. The board is confident that the material will go into that market. On the refractory side, we have an offtake arrangement in place with RHI Magnesita, the world's largest refractory producer, and we're the first junior that they've done a deal with. In terms of the coarse flake, as I mentioned, the joint venture between us and Medichem, and 100% of that material can be sold into Graphit Bergbau into Austria. Having said it's a great project with attractive financials and well advanced, there's still upside to this project. The project itself, the study is only taking into account 100% of the indicated resource and 20% of the inferred resource to give us more than 14 years mine life. Add the total resource and you're up around the 25-year mark. But this project sits in a graphitic domain outlined by the red line. We own the tenements 100% in this area. It covers approximately 20 square kilometres, and we've only explored around 10 to 15% so far. Each of those yellow dots you can see on the map, that represents grab samples, surface samples of 10 to 20% TGC, or total graphitic carbon. We already have a 40-year mining licence granted over that larger white oval shape, which is our Revy resource, and that's the basis of our study, our final feasibility study moving forward. In terms of product outlook, as I said, others have put up various graphs in terms of what the graphite market looks like. Needless to say, it's very encouraging. The battery market is certainly growing at a rate around 17 to 20% per annum. The medium-sized material is closely linked to global GDP growth, so we're looking at about 1 to 3%. And the large flake is expected to grow significantly, 5 to 10% per annum between now and 2040, and that's where there's some really good money to be made. In terms of the expandable strategy, we see this as a low-risk, low-capital entry into a downstream market, which will promote us in the marketplace as a graphite producer in the global graphite supply chain. It also allows us to talk to project financiers in respect to our Minari project, and we'll be discussing with them that we are a partial off-taker of our own product moving forward. There's no doubt about the product quality based on results we received from independent test work and Tier 1 producers. In fact, the German laboratory said we could not find any restriction which would limit the application of this kind of graphite. I'm not going to go through these, but suffice to say, in terms of expandable graphite, there's a very wide range in terms of possible applications, and consequently that spreads the risk in terms of any substitution possible in the future. Metachem is our joint venture partner, as I said, and we're looking to build that plant in Pune in India, and there'll be a lot of news coming out in the future in regards to finalisation of the engineering, further offtake partners, commencement of construction and commissioning with first sales before the end of this calendar year. It's all about batteries today, so I've got 5 minutes to cover where we are on the battery side. This is one that I pulled out because people need to realise that the discussions at this conference are not just about lithium-ion batteries, they're also about, obviously, vanadium redox batteries and hydrogen fuel cells. And in all those cases, graphite is a key ingredient towards producing those products. And as a result, is a critical commodity in regards to decarbonising the world. And you see by the graph, the focus is on energy and energy management in regards to energy generation, energy storage, etc. And as I said, BlackEarth is well positioned to take advantage of the various batteries, and we believe there'll be various batteries that come onto the market to resolve this decarbonisation issue. Electric vehicle pricing as well. One thing I think people miss is that we've seen significant increases in pricing in lithium, cobalt and nickel. Graphite, from a value of battery metals within the EV sold globally, constitutes a small portion. Now, if the world is going to be in deficit by the end of the year for suitable natural graphite going into batteries, that price has lots of room to move before impacting the cost of an EV, which does nothing but add more to the bottom line of the product that we sell. So we're in an extremely enviable position in regards to that. Between now and 2024, that market is expected, from a demand point of view, to grow by 800%. And as I said, substitution due to price is extraordinarily low. In fact, there's incentive to use more natural graphite instead of synthetic for reasons that have been discussed before, including cost and carbon footprint, which is about a third to a quarter of synthetic graphite. So we're in an excellent position to take advantage of this moving forward. We not only resolve a responsible issue with decarbonisation, but our shareholders are provided with attractive returns. As I said, we've done a lot of test work with various groups through spheronisation, purification, and even producing full cells and being tested, and the results coming back that our material is comparable to the best standards, in this case that Dorfner Anza plant tested against. In terms of moving forward on the battery material strategy that we have, firstly, we're going to complete discussions and have legally binding offtakes with various tier one groups. And so to that extent, we're undertaking final large-scale test work moving forward, running in parallel with our DFS with various anode manufacturers. That will be accomplished and follow through with construction with the Minari plant, and then obviously we're moving forward with the Indian JV plant. But once we get to that stage where that's complete, we'll move into stage two. We'll further the discussions we're having with spheronised purified graphite and CSPG technology owners in terms of moving forward on the battery anode material. There are a number of companies already going down that route. We pride ourselves in wanting to become first to coming second, so we can understand, as we have from building the Minari project, the lessons learnt from moving forward in developing a project of this ilk. So we'll complete the test work, we'll finalise the most suitable technology, probably in parallel with our end users. We'll incorporate, as I said, the learnings from battery anode material producers version 1, those doing it at the moment, and thereafter we'll proceed to full development. News flow over the next 6 months, obviously update on drilling in the high grade area in Revy Northwest area, where we achieved grades of 25%, 28%, and we put out results on that, including a resource late last year. The Revy resource update, we expect that to be in the not too distant future, having put out a release about the completion of infill drilling, and that's our primary resource for the project. We'll provide a DFS update, more news in regards to the expandable plant in regards to the DFS engineering and ultimately FID, ongoing ESG updates, obviously the completion of the Minari DFS in the middle of this year and the commencement of the Minari feed. With that, I thank you very much. If anyone's interested, we have a booth number 2. We have a copy of the presentation which you can get a hold of, and if you have any questions, please feel free to come by and ask. Thank you very much.